My name is Camille Foster. I turned 31 the day my family texted me a group photo from Santorini, all smiles, all sun-kissed, and not a single empty chair where I might have been. That was the moment something in me finally snapped. I'd just finished a grueling 12-hour shift at the startup I co-founded, a company I'd been pouring my entire soul into for the past 4 years. I was standing in line at a gas station, phone in one hand, debit card in the other, trying to remember if my account had at least enough for a full tank, when my sister's message lit up the screen. "Wish you were here." Attached was a boomerang of the entire family: my parents, my younger sister Fallen, her husband, my brother Marcus, and his girlfriend, even Aunt Denise, who once told me I was too quiet for island trips. They were gathered around a breakfast table over a cliffside balcony, blue sea shimmering behind them like a damn postcard. Except I wasn't in the picture. Again. I stared at it until the gas pump clicked, and even then I just stood there, the nozzle still in the tank, the sun beating down, a pit growing in my chest. I hadn't even known they were going to Greece. No one had told me. No group chat invite. No call. Not even a fake "we figured you'd be too busy" excuse. I wasn't just forgotten. I was deliberately left out. And it wasn't the first time. Before I continue, let me know where you're watching from. Drop your country or city in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you've ever been treated like the outsider in your own family. Growing up in Evanston, Illinois, our house was like a sitcom: loud dinners, mismatched plates, siblings bickering over the TV remote, and Dad burning the toast every Sunday. From the outside, we were the picture of a close-knit middle-class family, but on the inside, there was always this unspoken hierarchy, and I was always at the bottom. Fallen was the golden girl, charming, bubbly, pageant pretty. Mum once called her the sunshine we didn't know we needed. Marcus was the achiever, track medals, Ivy League dreams, the kind of boy who got standing ovations at graduation. And me? I was quiet, bookish. I taught myself to code at 13, got into Northwestern on scholarship, and graduated with honors, but none of that ever seemed to stick with them. Mom would hang Marcus's newspaper clippings on the fridge. Dad would brag about Fallen's Instagram modeling to neighbors. And me? I once got a handshake from Uncle Vince when I landed a job at a tech firm in Chicago. A handshake. Cracks became more visible after high school. They'd plan weekend getaways and forget to loop me in. Cousin Jasmine's wedding? I got the invite 2 days before the RSVP deadline. Marcus's engagement dinner? They texted me a photo after it ended. Fallen once posted a picture from Disney World with the caption "Family First," and I didn't even know they'd left the state. At first, I told myself it was just bad communication. Then I started noticing the patterns. I wasn't forgotten. I was excluded. And the worst part, I still kept trying. I'd offer to host Christmas. They'd already booked a cabin. I mailed birthday cards, sent graduation gifts for cousins' kids I barely knew. I called Mom every Sunday. But the calls got shorter. And I got lonelier. By the time I was 28, I'd stopped asking why they left me out. Instead, I started building something that would never exclude me: my own legacy. It began in my tiny apartment, just me, my laptop, and a stack of ramen packets. I'd quit my tech firm job after watching yet another male colleague get promoted with half my work ethic and double my arrogance. I walked out with 2 paychecks left in my account, and a blurry vision of what I wanted to build: a software platform that helped female freelancers manage their projects, payments, and portfolios. No one believed it would work. Dad called it cute. Fallen said, but like, why wouldn't they just use Fiverr? Even my best friend Naomi, the only person who truly had my back, warned me about burnout and financial ruin. But I did it anyway. I worked 16-hour days, learned the ropes of business funding, slept on my floor when the bed felt too luxurious for my stress levels. I pitched to 47 investors before one finally bit. He gave me $50,000 and a 10% chance of success. That was enough. Within a year, we had our first 10,000 users. By year 3, we hit 1.2 million in annual revenue. By year 4, I became a verified millionaire. I moved into a lakefront condo, I bought myself a black Tesla with the seats stitched in red. And on the Christmas of that 4th year, the same day they posted a family ski trip photo in Aspen without me, I sent every single one of them a personalized card. It read, "Hope you're enjoying this now. I just bought my first company. Thought you'd want to know. Camille." No emojis, no love, just fact. A week later, Mom finally called. "Oh honey, we didn't think you'd want to come skiing. You've always hated the cold." I didn't answer, I just listened to the sound of her voice grasping for an excuse. She tried to pivot. "Anyway, we heard you've been doing well. Some tech thing? Must be exciting." And just like that, I realized the truth. They only acknowledged me when they couldn't ignore me. I wasn't part of the family unit. I was the family surprise. But that surprise, it had just begun. The real reckoning started when Fallon called, 6 months later, asking if I'd sponsor her luxury skincare startup. 6 months after I made my first million, I got a text from Fallon, my younger sister, the same one who once said, "Camille's like, smart, I guess, but not really fun. Hey sis, 2 hearts, you free to talk this weekend? I have a business proposal I think you'll love." 3 exclamation marks, a heart emoji, sis. I hadn't been sis in almost a decade. And the only time Fallon ever called me was when she wanted something or had accidentally tagged me in an Instagram story about keeping toxic people out of your life. Still, I was curious, not enough to say yes, but enough to say, "Depends, what's the proposal?" She replied instantly, "OMG, let's do brunch at the Lakeview Cafe Sunday. I'll explain everything face." I didn't confirm, I didn't say no, I just showed up. Because I already knew what this was. The Lakeview Cafe was one of those curated places, exposed brick walls, handmade ceramic plates, cold brew served in mason jars with rosemary ice cubes. Fallon was already seated when I arrived, her platinum blonde hair in perfect curls, designer sunglasses pushed up like a crown. She wore a white linen jumpsuit and lip gloss that shimmered in the morning light. She stood to hug me like we'd seen each other last week. I hadn't seen her in person in over 3 years. "You look so good," she chirped, sliding a menu across the table. "Money suits you." There it was. Not hello. Not how have you been. Just, you have money, let's talk about it. She barely touched her avocado toast before diving in. Her business idea was a skincare brand, vegan, cruelty-free, infused with Himalayan crystals and ancestral moonlight, whatever that meant. She wanted to call it Fallon Glow. "I just need a bit of seed funding," she said, stirring her lavender oat milk latte. "Only like $100K to start." I nearly choked on my coffee. $100,000? She laughed. "Oh please, don't act broke, Camille. I read that Forbes thing. You have it." I wiped my mouth slowly. "Just because I have it doesn't mean I'm handing it out like free samples at Sephora." She tilted her head, the flirtatious charm slipping into something sharper. "I thought you'd want to support me. You're always talking about women in business, right?" I smiled. The kind of smile you give someone who has no idea how transparent they are. Women who do business, not women who say they're going to. Fallon flushed. "This is important to me, Cam. For once, can't you just help?" I leaned back in my chair. "Let me ask you something." She blinked. "Name 3 of my company's features." She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I waited. "I know you do something with freelancers. And yet you want $100,000 from me." She bristled. "That's not fair. I'm not a tech person." "No, but you're a grown woman asking for a 6-figure check without research, a pitch deck, or even a business plan." Her lip trembled. "You think I'm a joke?" I set my coffee down. "No, Fallon, I think you thought I was a joke until I stopped being convenient." She said nothing. Just stared at her untouched latte as the cafe buzzed around us. When I got home that night, I couldn't shake the guilt. That old programming, be the nice one, the peacemaker, the helper, whispered in my ear. Maybe I should have helped. Maybe this was her way of finally trying. Maybe this was my chance to be included if I just played the role they wanted. But that guilt didn't last long. Because the next day, I saw Fallon's Instagram story. A boomerang of her holding a cocktail by a rooftop pool with the caption, "Fake support is worse than hate." No tags, but I didn't need one. I was the target, again. A week later, Mom called. Not to ask how I was, but to say this. Fallon's under a lot of stress right now, Camille. Maybe if you had helped her, she wouldn't feel so abandoned. There it was again. The switch flipped. I was useful again, and that meant I was now expected to play along. Family retreat, worm. It was from my mom. Yes, she uses 3 exclamation marks in subject lines. Yes, she puts emojis where they don't belong. Yes, it made my stomach twist. The message read, "Hi girls, we're planning a big family trip to Costa Rica in July. Dad found a great resort, and we thought it'd be so nice if we could all be together again. Let us know your availability, so we can book early. Love you both." Both. That word hit me harder than I expected. For 30 years, both had never included me. Not when they went to Disneyland, and I stayed home, because Camille doesn't really like roller coasters. Not when they visited Cancun and said it was a small family thing, meaning Fallon, her ex, and 3 of her friends from Palates. Not when they rented a ski cabin and forgot to mention it, then posted pictures on Facebook with captions like, "Nothing like family time, snowflake skier." Now suddenly, I was part of both. Because I had money. I didn't reply, not for 2 days. Then Mum called. "You saw the email?" she asked, too brightly. I did. "Well, what do you think?" "I think it's interesting timing." A pause. "Oh honey, don't be like that, we're trying." "Trying what, exactly?" "To include you." "No, Mom, you're trying to make me feel included. Big difference." She sighed, voice tight. "Why are you always so cold?" Cold. The word stopped me. That's what they always said when I had boundaries. When I said no. When I protected myself. Fallon lied, Camille's been cold. Dad forgot her graduation, Camille's just sensitive. Mom dismissed her career for years, Camille's bitter. No one asked why I was distant, only why I wasn't more convenient. 2 nights later, my cousin Chloe invited me out. Chloe had always been different. She was the only one who ever asked real questions about my work, my startup, my goals. Over mojitos and roasted corn tacos, I told her everything. The brunch. The emails. The Costa Rica invite. She listened, quiet, serious, then said, "They still think you're an ATM with legs." I burst out laughing. She wasn't wrong. Chloe leaned in. "Do you want to go on this trip?" "No," I said immediately, "but I almost feel like I have to, just to prove." I trailed off. "Prove what?" she asked gently. "That I'm still family." Chloe's gaze softened. "Camille, being family shouldn't be something you earn." Later that week, I finally replied to Mom's email. Short, polite, honest. "Thanks for the invite. I'll be passing on this one. I hope you all have a great time." 3 hours later, my phone exploded. Fallon texted. "Seriously? Face with rolling eyes, "You're just being petty now." Then Dad. "You always think you're above the family, Cam." Then finally Mom. "We're just trying to make things better. If you don't want that, maybe stop complaining you feel left out." That was the last straw. I drafted one final reply. Subject, setting the record straight. "Hi all. I appreciate the invite. But I want to be very clear. I'm not declining because I'm petty. I'm declining because I've spent decades being excluded, and now, after I've made it, I'm suddenly welcome. That doesn't feel like love. It feels like manipulation. I'm not bitter, I'm aware. If you want to rebuild a relationship with me, it has to start with accountability, not invitations that conveniently arrive now that I'm successful. Until then, I wish you well. Camille." They didn't reply. But Fallen posted a cryptic Instagram story that night. Funny how some people love boundaries until they end up alone. I didn't respond. For once, I didn't feel guilty. 3 weeks after I sent that email, I got a call from Uncle Reginald. Not Mum, not Dad, not Fallen. Uncle Reggie, Dad's younger brother, the same man who once gave me a used Vans and Noble gift card for Christmas because he forgot to shop. "Camille," he said, voice low and cautious, "you busy?" I was actually deep into hiring interviews for the marketing VP position at my company, but something in his tone made me pause. "What's going on?" "It's your parents." I sat up straighter. "Are they okay?" He exhaled hard. "They're in trouble. Financial." "What kind of trouble?" "The kind where the mortgage is 4 months behind and your mom's credit cards are maxed out." I blinked. "What?" "They didn't tell you?" he asked, clearly surprised. I nearly laughed. "Reggie, they barely talk to me unless I'm on a beach." The truth came out in pieces. Dad had invested heavily, recklessly, in a green energy company pitched by Fallen's fiancée. Yes, fiancée. Apparently, between my polite email decline and their trip to Costa Rica, which they still took without me, Fallen had gotten engaged to a man who wore white sunglasses and called himself a disruptor. He'd convinced Dad to invest nearly $80,000. The company folded 6 months later. They didn't just lose their savings. They took out a second mortgage behind Mom's back. The entire house was at risk. And now, with foreclosure looming, they were turning to the one person they hadn't invited on vacation for 28 years. Me. I didn't respond to Uncle Reggie right away. Instead, I pulled up Zillow and stared at the house I once called home. 3 bedrooms, a garden Mom never let me play in. A guest room Fallen had always claimed as hers, even when she'd moved out. I thought of the garage, where my science fair boards once stood. Where Dad kept tools I wasn't allowed to touch. Where they'd hidden from me after missing my college graduation. Then I called my lawyer. 2 days later, I showed up at the house. No warning. No email. No RSVP. Mom opened the door and froze, dish towel in one hand, mascara smeared from what was clearly mid-crying session. "Camille." "Hi." She stepped aside. Dad stood in the kitchen, shirt wrinkled, eyes bloodshot. They looked old. Not older. Old. Like life had finally caught up with them. We didn't hug. We sat at the same oak table where they'd once held family game nights I wasn't invited to. I took out a folder because I'd learned that feelings mean nothing if they aren't backed by documents. "This," I said, placing it down, "is a financial breakdown. I had my accountant analyze your debts." Dad reached for it, but I didn't let go just yet. "You owe $232,000 between the house, credit cards, and personal loans." Mom whispered, "We didn't know who else to turn to." "You didn't turn to me," I said. "You turned on me, for decades." Silence. Then I laid out my terms. "I'll buy the house," I said. Their eyes widened. "I'll pay off the mortgage in full. You can stay here, no rent, but the deed goes in my name and a legal tenancy agreement is signed." "What?" Dad asked, voice tight. "You're kicking us out?" "No," I said, calmly. "I'm protecting myself." Mom began to cry. I continued. "There will be no more investment pitches, no money lent to Fallen or her fiancé. If anything else goes wrong, you come to me first, and only if you're honest." "And if we say no to this?" Dad asked, quietly. "Then the bank takes the house." It was cruel. It was brutal. It was necessary. Because kindness without boundaries isn't kindness, it's enabling. They signed the papers. I paid off the house. The next day, Fallen texted me. "So now you own Mom and Dad? Wow, enjoy being queen of the ashes." I didn't respond. But here's the twist. 3 months later, Fallen and her fiancé broke up. She moved back in with Mom and Dad, or tried to. But now, it wasn't their house anymore. It was mine. And the tenancy agreement I drafted with my lawyer had very clear stipulations. No additional residence without written permission from the landlord. Fallen called me in a fury. "You've got to be kidding." I simply replied, "I'm not." The day, she packed her things into a rental truck and moved into a shared apartment 30 minutes away, I sat on my condo balcony with a glass of wine. Not to gloat. Not to celebrate her failure. But to breathe in a world I'd built, with boundaries they could no longer ignore. Later that week, Mom emailed me. Short, polite, honest. "Thank you for what you did. I may never deserve it, but I'm learning." That was enough. For now,